Hello and welcome to Atlantic Video View. Hello and welcome to the East Lancashire Railway. And our programme today is entitled A Review of 2012 here on the East Lancashire Railway in Bury. We will review all the main events that have taken place here on the East Lancashire Railway. All these steam events featuring our visitors and of course the resident steam fleet. We'll see some of our mainline visitors and we'll review some of the more popular family events, from the Santa specials to our little blue friend Thomas the Tank Engine. And of course some of the new developments here on the East Lancashire Railway. And so without further ado, let's head back to December 2011. With a variety of both steam engines and diesel engines, these Santa specials are always a joy to see. Not only do you have a big steam engine at the front, but you also have a carriage warming diesel at the back. The Duke of Gloucester and 45231 were both mainstays throughout this period. And as previously, the train is non-stop through Ramsbottom, so that the diesel can pull it back into the station and it relieves the line for the diesel multiple unit to head northwards to Rawtenstall. In this case, on the tail is none other than 1501, superb in its BR two-tone green. And on the day that our cameras visited us, the Class 33 was also available on the rear. Merry Christmas, everybody! The 6th of January, and our first event of the year is our Diesel Theme Day. And our first views are of the double-heading 37 and Class 40 leaving Bury Bolton Street. Our third locomotive for the day is made ready, and is next seen heading up Burrs with a Class 33. Springside Farm and southbound we find the Class 37 on the top and our Class 40 on the rear. Once again topping and tailing in the rather stiff winds, our high mech heads south with a 33 on the rear. And without doubt the spectacle of the day is seen northbound. A triple heading train with 237s and a Class 40. And under the auspices of Peel Tower are double-heading Class 37s tail with the 40 over Burrs and back into Bury. With a great turnout, our locomotives return back to Bury, ready to start the rest of the year with a lot of va-va-voom. What a fantastic day indeed. January the 21st and 22nd found us in our Steam Winter Gala. First off is the Super D over Burrs. With its 080 wheel arrangement, this is an archetypal freight engine. And the locomotive itself was saved by the whim of a shedmaster from Buxton. Sir, thank you very much indeed. Our locomotive and train are now heading north over Burrs, onwards to Ramsbottom. Whilst the Super D had been running round in Ramsbottom sidings, two Black 5s had departed Bury for Haywood, double-heading Black 5s up the Broadfield bank. Just watch this and enjoy 44871 and 45407. The 0920 departure had the standard tank on top of Lord Melson, a scene which would have been reminiscent of the southern region in the late 60s. The first of our shuttles is seen behind a Black 5 over Burrs. Returning from Haywood and over the ski jump, 71000 the Duke of Gloucester. Top and tail black fives returning from Ramsbottom. The Standard Tank and Super D are seen double heading at Olive Sidings. Our southbound train shortly being followed by a northbound Lord Nelson on the shuttle for Ramsbottom. And again by return an hour later. And in elegant style, 49395 the Super D hurries the shuttle onwards to Ramsbottom. And towards the end of the day, the clouds here seem to scud across faster than they had all day. The first run out for the Duke of Gloucester on the Saturday was in front of Lord Nelson. The pair seen here having arrived at Ramsbottom Station, taking carriages onto the sidings. On the 28th of January 2012 we were able to catch Ian Riley's two Black 5s here behind the motorway services at Rivington. And what a superb shot indeed. Let's just watch as they head northwards to Carlisle. And for more shots of a myriad of steam on the main line, why not watch our DVD, Northwest Steam on the Main Line 2012. Earlier February and a shed visit was on the cards, mainly to see the bits and pieces of the now almost complete 42765, the East Lancashire Railway Crab. The boiler itself had already been returned from being refettled, and we were just waiting to put this on the rails. The tender of course had already been completed in LMS Red. Progress on our Clayton Class 15 D8233 was go ahead. All main conduit runs in the engine compartment have now been refitted, and work was commencing on refitting the missing sections of vacuum pipe. Intended for mainline use, 37518 had been purchased by Ian Riley. The new engines had been fitted inside the compartment, as indeed we can see here. And externally, the locomotive had been touched up, ready for its new paintwork. See later in our DVD what it really looks like. On our visit to the yards, a lot of the shed had been turned out, and it was obvious that Ian Riley has a lot of the Bullied Pacifics, bits and pieces available throughout the yard. So let's hope that Ian Riley and his team can get together and put us back together another Bullied Pacific for the main line. Three Blackpool trams appeared early in 2012. These are here for storage on behalf of the Heaton Park tram people. The Metrovix body is still off of its bogies, and in the workshops some C10s were being created, and I'm sure you'll agree that Keith has done an absolute magnificent carpentry job on recreating these seats for our Royal Scot carriage. And turning out superb jobs, let's just take a look at Gorton built 61572. Turned out here in its LNER number 8572. What a magnificent paint job before this locomotive returned to Norfolk to great applause from many of the steam enthusiasts. We'll see a little bit more of this locomotive later on in our programme. The February steam weekend began with a photo shoot starring number 65 ex-Sapper, now painted up as an NCB locomotive. This is seen arriving in the sidings at Ramsbottom. As our standard tank heads back around its stock, we can see the Black 5 arriving into Ramsbottom. Our Southern Region locomotive 850 Lord Nelson then makes a volcanic approach past the sidings. The Standard 4 dumped its freight and comes back north again, this time with a passenger. And our next duo over Burrs, the Duke of Gloucester with Ian Riley's Black 5. The service train seen headed by 850 later in the day is banked by the saddle tank. Onward to our photo charter for Sunday. Here 80080 was on a parcel set. Having spent over half an hour running past at Burrs, our set then makes ready to go onward to Ramsbottom sidings. And was shortly followed by a northbound Duke of Gloucester. and was shortly followed by Lord Nelson double heading with 45231. In amidst all our mainline action, if you found 5 minutes, why not pop down to the Bury Transport Museum and the Transport Collectors Fair? I'm sure that you'd find something to your liking there in amidst our superb collection in our £3.5 million renovation of the Castlecroft shed. Let's just take a look around here and see what was on offer. It's here in the shed that our 2 traction engines reside, and I'm sure you'll agree they're a spectacular view when they're up and running. So if you'd like to support us here, please buy a book, a model or a magazine. Railwayana was well represented, with signs, lamps and plates available from all over the country. And for the model railway enthusiast, there was plenty to choose from. If you went up on the boardwalk at the side, you would also find some of the model railways that had come along here to display themselves, Haywood Model Railway Group being one of them. 2 operational exhibits of Bolton buses were seen earlier on in this clip, and here is the support stand that keeps these buses on the road. If you get the opportunity, why not buy yourself a tape? Back down on the cobbles again, some beautiful Railwayana and signs are available. With a myriad of memorabilia and some magnificent displays, why not pop down to the Bury Transport Museum? Ian Riley Engineering helps to restore many of the steam engines that you'll see throughout the country, and the ELR B12 8572 is no exception. The B12 on the Friday before our steam event is seen on a loaded test run. This is before it was to head to the North Norfolk Railway to make its debut there, turned out in its wonderful ELR green livery. The East Lancashire Railway Classic Bike Rally was held at Castlecroft on Sunday the 8th of April. Put on your helmet, get on your bike and get down here. What an array of motorbikes we had for you. Every name you could think of under the sun was here ready for you to admire. For the discerning connoisseur of the vintage bikes, we had an array of vintage bikes which were second to none. BSA, Triumph, Ariel and of course that memorable name Sunbeam. Let's just take a look at some of the detail of these award-winning and wonderfully preserved motorbikes. If your taste was more 40s and 50s, we also had a wonderful array of British-made bikes here at Castlecroft, with such stirring names as Triumph, AJS and of course Royal Enfield. Once again, the workmanship was fantastic, and they were close to hand here, so you could take a really good look at your favourite classic bike. And equally alluring are the larger touring bikes, which were well on display here on the renewed cobbles at Castlecroft. From Suzuki to Yamaha and BSA, once again the craftsmanship in preservation was superb and ready for all to see. And if superbikes are your thing, in the corner the Greater Manchester Police Force had brought on a fine array of some of the finest superbikes in the country. So if you missed our East Lancashire Railway Classic Motorbike Rally at Castlecroft in 2012, get on your bike and get down here for 2013. Keeping steam engines running means sometimes some heavy engineering. The Duke of Gloucester here is seen as it has its buffer beam replaced and renewed. Can you imagine the amount of satisfaction in seeing this from your work at the end of the day? The same is true of our diesel multiple units. 1305 here, obviously well weathered, is in need of some TLC. Can you help here? If you can, why not call the Bury Bolton Street number? Or take a look at what's going on one of our guided tours. Buckley Wells is the place where a lot of rebuilding work is going on. And here we can see the volunteers who are working on rebuilding the Southern Region ferry van, ready for a photo shoot later in the year. The LMS Guards brake van is also a major reconstruction from the sole bar upwards. Do you have the skills to help out here? If so, give the East Lancashire Railway a call. And a few more shots of the wonderful work undertaken on this Southern Region ferry van. Again, if you think you can help, pay us a visit. Footplate experience. Without doubt one of the most wonderful experiences you could either have yourself or you could give as a present to someone you know or someone in your family. With a fine range of both mainline diesel and mainline steam, you can take control and take it through the wonderful countryside here in the Irwell Valley on the East Lancashire Railway. The experience can be tailored to suit whatever conditions and is unforgettable. So if you'd like to book your place with the drivers here on the East Lancashire Railway, please call 0161 764 7790. All training will be given on the day. Castlecroft Yard is certainly making its name as an exhibition centre. On the 28th of April, a small display of Wolseley cars was there for your delight and delectation. Early May and it's time for a day out with Thomas and his friends. Chance to go up the line and see Percy and Donald, also to travel along Thomas's branch line and see the crane. Or head over the road and see Bertie the bus. Down the branch line, Sapper helps Thomas and Sir Topham Hatt. And Daisy the Diesel will be one of our DMUs that has brought a lot of the people down here from Haywood. Returning from his branch line, Thomas and Sapper exchange pleasantries with our Class 40 as Thomas goes into the main station and the Diesel gets ready to take everybody northwards to Ramsbottom and Rottenstall. At Bury Bolton Street we have our licensed bar, and here you could sit down and eat your sandwiches or have a meal and wait for the diesel multiple units to take you up the line. Platform 4, and this is where you board the train to go down Thomas's branch line and take a look at Buckley Wells, where on that day our rather sombre crane is stood waiting for Thomas to arrive down the rather special signal box at the end of his branch line. And as you can see, there are plenty of happy mums, dads and kids waiting for Sapper to bring the train to a stop outside the special Zodor sweet shop, which is at the end of Thomas's branch line. And it's here that the volunteers, and especially Mike, are able to interface with all our visitors and welcome them to a proper steam railway. On the platform itself there are 2 carriages in platform 1, story reading and Thomas DVDs, and of course tabletop games and face painting. Let's just step inside and take a look at some of the fun. Face painting is without doubt a very popular carriage. And at the other end of Bury Bolton Street is a special tent where you can enjoy Punch and Judy or our very own magician. Cross the road and head into Castlecroft. Our £3.5 million renovation finds us with a carriage for a cup of tea, and of course it's a place where Bertie the bus waits for you. Go inside and get some idea of how to generate your own clay pot. And it's here in Castlecroft you can get to see our very own traction engines and a lot of the railway memorabilia. Up at Ramsbottom, the troublesome trucks are waiting for Donald to head north then. Percy says hello. So why not pick yourself up a ticket, head on here to the East Lancashire Railway and visit Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends. A reserved occupation is the title that was given to railway men and women who were not allowed to join up during World War II. Their skills were so specific and transport so important they had to stay here in good old Blighty. Railway staff, like all of the country, was on restricted rations, and indeed some of the locomotives that they worked were not necessarily the best. Our day may have started, if we were really lucky, in the daylight in our mainline station here. And if we were also lucky, the infrastructure that we could see was still intact and hadn't been bombed by the Nazis. Thankfully, the signalling is working. The railways were used not only for transporting people, but mainly for transporting armaments and goods. And so operating a steam engine meant a good fire with plenty of water, if there was some available. It was very important that the steam was used efficiently, and the teamwork between the fireman and the driver was of major importance. That's why it's a reserved occupation. It was often a skill that could not be taught. With our soldiers getting ready to leave the country, don't forget, our railwayman probably had very little sleep because of the bombing. Anyway, he had to keep his eyes open and himself alert. And if the coal was actually of good quality, we might actually be able to generate some efficient steam. The whistles blow and we're off up the line. With everything working, our driver now uses his skills, bringing the locomotive to a steady speed, keeping the eye open for the track ahead and the signals. And he was helped by the second man and the cleaner if there was one on the footplate. If running during the day, it was fairly easy to see the track, but if you were running at night, it could be very difficult to see if the track was actually still there or not. So you can imagine the nerves of our footplate crew would be tested to the utmost. Our train has got a good speed, and hopefully it will arrive where it's going to without any delay. Hopefully our driver and footplate crew could actually get a good night's sleep. Flashing through the countryside and stations with no name boards, don't forget, we don't want to give anything away to infiltrators. Our footplate crew is working very hard indeed to arrive at its destination. This time it was our World War II destination of Ramsdown Station. And safely arrived, we can pass the OK to the southbound train going to Bury. No obstructions on the line. Our signal staff too were affected by the war. Our signalman is in place, pulls the signal off, and our steam engine heads onward to Rawtenstall. It was not unusual for our footplate crews to get stranded in a sidings or do they get left behind in the bunk beds as the lines themselves that had been bombed needed to be repaired before the trains could travel on them? The guys were up and ready for work whenever it was needed. A reserved occupation, the occupation of many people who lived through World War II. And it was just such people as these that helped us to win the war. Thank you very much indeed. And let's take a quick look at some of the views from our DVD, The Wartime Weekend 2012 on the East Lancashire Railway. And a very nice job indeed. And of course, as you'd expect on a 1940s wartime weekend, all our reenactors were gathering and certainly looking the part, waiting for the train to arrive. Our passengers were alighting at Heywood, a fortified German transport hub somewhere in France. It's here that they would see the first of the hostilities on our long 3-day weekend. And finally to St Paul's Church in Ramsbottom for the marvellous finale to our 2012 event. Out in the church foyer there, you would have got yourself a sandwich and a very nice cup of tea before moving through to the pews and taking your seat. In fact, this event has become so popular that with a 2 o'clock kick-off, people were taking their seats at 1 o'clock. And by about 1:30 it was quite difficult to find someone. Let's just take a look at the many reenactors as they get ready to take part in our marvellous finale.
Hope you enjoyed the choices we've made for you. We're going to kick it all off with one of our favourite big band medleys, and we hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Gordon Highlander is seen in our 2011 event, here on the Broadfield Bank. By special dispensation, the Broadfield Bank is actually allocated for 60-mile-an-hour test running, obviously without passengers. Here's an example of 9016 Gordon Highlander on an ordinary footplate experience day. With that in mind, our cameras go back to the day before our July Diesel event and elicit on doing a 60-mile-an-hour test run up the Broadfield Bank. Watch, listen and enjoy. Hello and welcome to the East Lancashire Railway. Hello and welcome to our Friday operations of the Diesel event. The weather on the Friday was reminiscent of that for the previous month, when flooding had been prevalent up the Irwell Valley. We receded to the Ramsbottom signal box, and here signalman Mr. David Wright shows us just how the box works. Our first train is clocked onto the signal board, and here we see it arriving into Ramsbottom Station, 50015 Valiant. is a great opportunity for two BR Blue locomotives together, a Class 37 and the Class 24 heading southwards. The 24 being followed shortly by a smartly northbound King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry. And once again returning past Ramsbottom sidings. Our 37 once again drifts down onto the signal, awaiting the northbound departure. The pair being seen away once again at Irwell Valley. The Deltic on the front, D9009, is the one that had undertaken speed trials on the East Lancashire Railway just the day before, in preparation for mainline running. Saturday operations began in a blaze of sunshine, and it lasted for most of the day, thank heavens. Our first northbound was 37275, tailed by 37518. Ian Riley's 37518 had better seen southbound. Our ever popular high make is seen northbound through Little Burrs. The double-heading 37s being captured further south at Tile Street. The very popular visiting Class 24 is seen double heading with the Class 20 through Touch Hill Cutting. and the double-heading duo of the Class 14 on top of the Hymek. Very, very western region. Following our traditional beer X on the Saturday evening, Sunday operations began in some really good weather. 5081 is seen northbound over Burrs. And two brilliant shots on that same day from the north end of Touch Hill Cutting, double heading Deltics and double heading Class 37s. All of these clips and more are featured on the Atlantic Video View DVD, Diesels Galore on the ELR 2012. Available from all good railway stores. September and our Deltic Gathering 2, featuring 5 of the most famous Deltic locomotives left in the country. Saturday and our first train northbound is seen at Olive Sidings. 55002 is on top of 55019, heading for Ramsbottom. The pair being shortly followed by the first service train to Rottenstall, headed by Gordon Highlander. Our first double header of the day is Royal Highland Fusilier with the King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry, seen here at Springside Farm. Burrs is always a favourite shot, and our cameras head down here to see D9009 making a smoky ascent of Burrs and on into Touch Hill Cutting. and the tower would be able to see the next spectacle of double-heading green Deltics, 16 on top of 9. Royal Scots Grey is then seen round the curve at Olive Sidings. In the North Sidings at Ramsbottom we captured 2 BR Blue locomotives, 5081 awaiting its next service and Coyley heading southbound. And our finale for the Saturday was all 5 Deltics on the front of our BRX, seen here passing through Ramsbottom Station. As the signalman shuts the gates, so our day comes to a close, and we look forward to a really good Sunday. Something very special, 2 northbound British Railways green Deltics, D9009 Elizabeth on top of 9016 Gordon Highlander. Sit back and enjoy the roar. And if you'd like to see the whole of our Deltic Gathering number 2, why not have a look at Atlantic Video View DVD of the event. With half of our new roof erected the 13th and 14th of October, found us at our diesel event. The collector's stall were once again here on Platform 3 and Platform 4, and Chris Guntrip was just getting a coffee before he takes his 37s northbound. On the shuttle in the morning were the Class 14 D9531. Recently introduced after renovation, Ernest, as it's affectionately known, was in the capable hands of Carl, our driver. Royal Scots Grey returns round the corner from Haywood. And not long is off again northbound. Carl takes our first shuttle north to Ramsbottom. And was shortly followed by a top and tail 33 with a 24. Chris Guntrip returns into Bury Bolton Street with top and tail 37s. And the Deltic then arrives into platform 4. And is soon signalled away on to Haywood. Our Deltic comes off the train here as our 24 returns into platform 4, ready to head on to Haywood. Not long to take your photograph before the Class 24 heads round the corner to Bury South Signal Box to pick up the token for the Haywood branch. The signalman delivers the token into the safe hands of Mr. James Bottomley. And as the 33 disappears under Manchester Road, so the 50 and the 40 head northwards to Ramsbottom. The 37s are captured passing by the 01 shunter outside of Castlecroft Yards. And our duo is not stationary for long before heading round the corner to Haywood. On the next trip, the pair double-headed northbound to Rottenstall, seen here just north of Ramsbottom. The popular Class 24 5081 was seen singling down from Haywood into Bury Platform 3. And our final shot from the event is the teddy bear on top of the high main. Onward to the final steam event of the year, here in October, and our first visitor out on a freight was none other than the B1. Under the auspices of Mr. Keith Savoury, the man who keeps a lot of these freight vehicles running, we saw plenty of run tests. And at about 10 to 9 the B1 disappeared off to Ramsbottom. And was shortly followed by a very industrious Super D. Around the corner at Olive Sidings, the visiting N2 tank 1744, banked by the Ginty, is seen heading northwards to Somerset and Ramsbottom. The Ginty returned with the freight, non-stop through Somerset. And was followed northbound in the wonderful sunlight by 61306 Mayflower. With the holly and its berries stating that winter is not far away, the N2 is seen southbound, reminiscent of the outer suburbs of London. Just around the corner at Little Burrs, the Super D heads northwards through the rusty colours of autumn. And framed again in autumn colours, Mayflower southbound. Followed by the N2 northbound over Burrs. Mayflower is captured departing Ramsbottom. And just around the corner, likewise a departing N2 at Rammy. And let's not forget our resident duo of the Ginty and Sapper. Our pair are captured on return. And obviously the driver had detected some problems with our Ginty. Getting down and taking a look, it was necessary for us to drop the fire. This of course causes a few problems in terms of igniting the wooden railway sleepers that we have here in Ramsbottom Station. Sapper came around and watered up, ready to take the train southbound again. And with the train out of the way, our station staff were able to get on with some redistribution. The two visiting locos are seen passing then at Ramsbottom. And a final silhouette at Burrs. Barron Street and a November Diesel evening photo shoot had been organised prior to the Diesel theme day. And indeed we got some rather wonderful photographs, albeit that it was a little bit rainy that evening. To allow people to get different shots, the locomotives were moved around and realigned, and once again we were able to get some really nice shots. Our visiting Class 24 5081 had had a photo shoot out on the main line back in September. Let's just take a look as 5081 starts up and the rest of what was a very sunny day. Diesel shoots are different from these steam shoots in that you set the diesel up and take a photograph. It normally doesn't run past. Again we got some terrific photos here just north of Somerset, and again up the line towards Haywood. Following a run round at Haywood, we headed back to Bury Bolton Street for some dinner. And following our descent into platform 2 at Bury Bolton Street, again some nice photographs. Onward once again to our November Diesel theme day. And two of our photographic featured locomotives, the Class 37 and the Class 50, head southwards from Rawtenstall. These were followed northbound by double-heading Class 33 and Class 24, heading for Irwell Vale. The pair returned top and tail into Ramsbottom. And they were both followed by a superb 55022 Royal Scots Grey. Royal Scots Grey returns into Ramsbottom. And as you can see, our next northbound is our last shot, the 24 and the 33 double heading northwards.